Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show. Don't worry if the thumbnail, whatever says Game 4, it is Game 5. I just fixed it, but it'll take a second to update, I'm sure. But wow, what a game. I mean, these games, like I had said before, even though Game 1 wasn't close necessarily, this is a very, very close series. These teams, while not necessarily close in terms of talent because of LeBron and AD in the top, but like the coaching and the styles and the way they play, this is all very, very close. And so this is really exciting stuff. Now, is this smooth? Because it looks like it's a little bit. Oh, there we go. I think it finally caught up to me. So anyway, amazing game, right? Really, I mean, Laker fans, you're probably disappointed. I don't think it's going to go anything else but the Lakers' way at some point here. They're not going to blow a 3-1 lead, are they? I don't know, but. Man, the Heat took over this game and really controlled the game for just about most of it. They got an 11-point lead in the second half, and it kind of like they might have been able to start to cruise. But obviously, when LeBron starts to use the three-point shot, it closes the gap. The Heat want to give him that shot. And hey, tip your cap, let him, he's going to make that. They probably need to do something better defensively down the stretch on him to just get it out of his hands, because AD looked a little beat up and was sort of gimpy on that right leg, and let anybody else create. So we finally kind of saw that, and they almost hit a Danny Green 3 that would have put him up. And so they played with fire a little bit there. It was a slow rotation in my mind. I felt like Iguodala should have been there at least a step earlier, but a lot of interesting things. So let's get out here into the chat here. It looks like Gigolo Pup is out there again, the man behind the plan. I don't know if I thanked him properly in the last game, but thank you for what you're doing out there and keeping this the chat nice and clean. Remember, if you want to get to me and ask me questions, obviously the best way to do it is a super chat so I can see it right away. And hey, look at this, the Trib1, best friend of the breakdown. Back again. Thank you so much. Love the Heat's fight. Great game. Talent is close. Lakers have the two best, while Miami has the next four, would be five with Dragic. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think that's probably what I was trying to say when I first started the show, was the notion that it is even. These are both even teams overall, and what the Lakers get in LeBron and Anthony Davis as far as way above on the talent level there, it levels off and gets the other way pretty quickly, players 3 through 8 or 3 through 9, whatever they're going for. So really these games are close. And so, game 6 could easily go, again, these can go either way. Which is really, really exciting, because at least we're going to get a good series out of this, and at least we get the sixth game, which is important. BB Coach JW33, you guys are just the best. Thank you so much. I didn't want that game to end, and I thought it was going to go overtime. I really thought it was overtime for sure. Can the Lakers close out the Heat with a hobbled Anthony Davis? Love the breakdown I'm in. So we got to figure out how hobbled he was. He did score a couple times, and I got to tell you, I don't know what that injury was about. I know they mentioned that he had been gimpy before on that right leg, but I don't know. It looked like he got shot. I'm confused by what happened there, and maybe they'll give us a better explanation after the game. But and the point being, I would assume that Anthony Davis would be fine, going into Game 6. I would assume that would be the thing, but I don't know. It was strange. Andre DeToni, thank you so much. It looks like you're from Russia, I think R is, right? Coach, what do you think about AD's antics? He's always flopping, always rolling on the ground, etc. Big love from Brazil. Oh, yeah. So remind me why R is Brazil again. I know someone told me maybe it's because of the, what is the currency in Brazil? The real? I think that's what it is. Anyway, so, and thank you, gracias to Brazil. I don't know, do you say gracias? I forgot how you say it in Portuguese. But anyway, let's see here. It is antics to me. People were making fun of him on Twitter, like the whole Paul Pierce, going down and coming back to life. LeBron has done that before too, a little bit. So, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if it affects the way he plays. So what's the real difference? Would it be nice for him to put on a stoic face and be really tough looking the whole time? Sure. But I just don't know what that's about. And again, it was really strange how he even got hurt that much. There wasn't much at all of anything there. So Javier Smith, thank you. Most LeBron game ever. Dominates, but refuses to step up and take the last shot. I miss Kobe more than ever right now. Okay. So could you argue that that pass to Danny Green was the wrong play to make? I wouldn't. You know, there was at least three guys around him. He had gone to the hoop. They were swiping. You know, they're not going to call it in those situations. He really didn't have a great, grasp on the ball or able to see it. So, now would you want to just sort of ISO on top and then shoot a, one-on-one from, 30 feet? Yeah, maybe that would be the thing he could have done. But, how are you supposed to fault the guy for, getting three guys to you and then throwing by the way, the pass was off. But, again, it was enough where Danny Green could knock it down and pick it up and shoot a, pretty open shot. So I don't know. As a coach, it's like, what better shot would you want than Danny Green, a good shooter with a good look for the game. So I wouldn't give him. But it is typical of what LeBron would do. He would make the right play, be it for a pass to somebody else or a shot for him. So Aaron Hannafin, thank you. Can't wait until my Lakers trade Danny Green for a half-eaten Cobb salad and a flat Coke. Wow. Let's look at the box score because I'm curious what Danny Green did tonight. I know he hit a couple threes, so he was 2 for 5 from 3, 3 for 8 overall, 24 minutes. Plus 12. He had one turnover that was pretty bad, and a couple of the shots were not great, but it was also great how they would pinch LeBron and like invite the short roll to Danny Green. Now he's got the ball and it's like fast and he's got to make decisions. That's not his thing. And he definitely blew one of those possessions at some point, going to the left. I feel like it was probably in the first half then. So he was fine. I thought Danny Green was fine, and you have to give credit to Danny Green and Caldwell Pope. The way they're chasing around these handoffs, which are the bread and butter of the Heat, it's really impressive. That said, they ran Caruso too, but Caruso and Caldwell Pope run into each other. And which is sort of the design of the play as the Heat players cross on the weak side, and then no one recognizes this. I think who would have jumped out? I can't. I got to picture that again. But Duncan Robinson gets around for like a great look, and he's just. He is. He doesn't it seem like Duncan Robinson's like better than Kyle Korver shooting wise? Doesn't it feel that way for some reason? Part of the reason for me is that Duncan Robinson can shoot off the dribble, so he can handle the ball a little bit better or more than you ever see Kyle Korver. So that's one thing, and also because he's coming off of the handoffs versus the pin downs, we see Kyle Korver come around. It's different. And I don't know. There's something about the way that Robinson strokes that ball that just looks more automatic than anybody I've seen. I think this is the new generation of as we move into the next iteration of the NBA. And he got a tip dunk almost, right? Wow. Royce Wolf, thank you. Lakers should trade Green. Yeah, but okay. So, and by the way, KCP, let's not take away from KCP because that's the guy that would probably get even more of those minutes, I suppose. Let's see. He was 16 points, 6 for 15 from the field, 3 for 8. But and defensively, he was terrific. So it looked like it was going to be one of those games where KCP turns it on at the end, right? And I got to look at that last play that Danny Green gets that shot because it'd be interesting to see where KCP was to figure out if it could have been him at the top instead of Danny Green. A lot of times that's a real, subtle adjustment you can make, especially live while you're the player and get there first or something. But, I would have probably wanted KCP there more than Danny Green at this point, the way Danny Green is so inconsistent. But, it's so if you trade Danny Green, again, what's his value anyway? I don't even know. Leo Choi, thank you. My goodness, from Hong Kong. Wow. What's the key for the Heat to win in 7? Okay. Well, here's what's weird. So they put AD on Butler again, and it didn't work, right? They were so good. By the way, if you watch my breakdown, it didn't really work in the first half of Game 5 either. Game 4 either, right? Because they were actually getting a lot of great action to get AD off of Butler, and Butler was then scoring. They did it again today. They did really well. Butler had easily the finest first half of the series. It was at least the match of Game 3, what he did tonight. And again, midway through the third into the fourth, they kind of forgot what was working. So they would set a screen, force a switch. They'd get Jimmy Butler setting screens. They'd have him curling around off ball first. None of that was happening at some point. It got very stagnant, and that's when the Lakers hit them with that big run. So it's a question of Spoelstra to calling timeout or doing something to remind them and getting them back on the same page. Otherwise, that is when the AD matchup on Butler really helps. So they have to be able to be more consistent with that in Game 6 for sure. They're not going to pull that out again, I don't think, if they try and play with fire like they did tonight. That's going to be a once-time thing, but they got to be better than that in Game 6. So that's the big one. Now, LeBron, I think that they should, they haven't played zone. I don't think they played zone all game long. And they're worried because the zone was getting lit up, but I don't know. I think the mixture of zone and man tends to do some good, even if they get scored on sometimes. So they need to figure out a way of getting the ball out of LeBron's hands a little bit more for a few more possessions. He will give it up if you double him, so they got to figure that out. Now, what they did do nicely on him was the high hedge again, and toward the end of the game, there was a big one where I think it was Duncan Robinson high hedges, and it just forces LeBron one dribble out, and then Jimmy can come underneath and pick him up, and then you can see Robinson scurry back to his man. They actually got that same kind of action, and KCP got a wide open three in the corner, in the left corner, the far corner, and that was crucial, and he missed it. That was a really big one on a step-up screen on the left side. So, again, in Game 4, the Heat got away with a lot of open threes that the Lakers just missed. And it wasn't as bad in this game, but there was still, in my mind's eyes, I'm thinking about some of those misses. Let's go to the box score again. The Heat ended up shooting 14 for 38. Again, they're doing like the average. They're just hitting it. So it's not great. It's not bad, but they're shooting 38 of these threes. It really is something that the Heat game plan, this is what they want, right? Because the Lakers don't normally take that many threes. Although, if my memory serves, in the regular season, they did take in the 30s per game, so they weren't that far off. But if I look at the percentage, I bet you it's a little bit higher than they want it to be. And meanwhile, the Heat tied them in three-pointers made, but they shot a lot better, 42% compared to the Lakers' 36.8%. So that was a key. Now, the Lakers caught up on the free throw shooting. At some point, the Heat had a bigger advantage, but the Heat ended up 21 out of 22, which is, they needed every one of those free throws. And then the Lakers, 18 for 21, sparkling as well. And they were able to catch up with Anthony Davis going 8 for 8 from the line. And LeBron going 4 for 6, but, he did miss one that was in the fourth quarter and, didn't help. So, all right, my goodness, but gracious. Again, thank you so much for all the super chats, but this is the way to get me, but thank you again. It's so generous of you, and it really, really helps the channel, the way things were going these days with the way they get auto-claimed. So thank you guys so much for helping me out here with the super chats. All right, let's see here. Let's go. Randall J05. Thank you. Refs got intimidated on that Bam out of bounds play. There was a ref right there and called Heat ball and just overturned it for no reason. Well, I tweeted this out. And if you're not following me on Twitter, you should, because I'm live tweeting the game. And, I think I'm going to be on my computer this time. I was in my house for the first 3 quarters. But when I'm on my computer, I'm capturing more of those clips live quickly with analysis. I got to tell you, I got to go frame by frame when I get a chance. I don't think the ball went out of bounds. I literally don't think it did. Now, it bounced once, and then it bounced again, and the second one was definitely inbounds, but that was the one that they called blew the whistle on. So if the ref saw it like I did, then the first one wasn't out of bounds. Well, the second one wasn't either, and Bam Adebayo had the ball. He regained possession, so that was big, and I think they blew that. But I'll have to look and see if there's any daylight between the ball and the sideline and the baseline when I look at the replay, because it was tough. But yeah, listen, he didn't overturn it for no reason. LeBron James got all upset in his face. I think that was the one, right? So that's going to have a lot of weight. The Trib one, thank you again, my goodness. Shout out to the refs, didn't see many missed calls. Yeah, I think they were fine. They were fine. There was a block charge. Oh, yeah, the LeBron charge. I think that was a good call. And remember, there's nothing about your feet being set. That's not part of the block charge rule. The rule is the defender needs to be in legal guarding position. And that was what, and that doesn't even mean he has to be set and stopped. He just needs to be in legal guarding position, and owning his space, where the offensive player bowls him over. It was certainly no lack of contact. That was certainly no flop. Everybody watched the last video I did, and it was almost tongue-in-cheek. LeBron, commits an offensive foul before he dunks. but it was an offensive foul. I mean, Van Gundy, those guys, they're not going to be controversial, I don't think. They felt it was offensive. It was clear he got his right forearm out as well as he moved into Tyler Hero. Now, Tyler Hero probably flopped as well, but it doesn't mean you can't call the offensive foul. But either way, I mean, I guess I lost some subscribers over that little throwaway line in the voiceover. But this one seemed pretty clear. And and listen, LeBron is very strong, and any kind of vector movement toward the basket, people are going to go flying. But the defender needs to be able to have his position, and you can't just dislodge him like that. So I think it was a good call. BB Coach JW33, thank you. Can you assess, and where do you coach? I'm kind of curious what BB Coach JW33 coaches. Maybe you can answer in the regular chat and I'll find it. Can you assess why Spo was so tight with his rotations this game for the Heat? Well, listen, it's a knockout game. That's why. You don't want to go deep at all. You got to have your best players. I mean, how many minutes did Jimmy play? I think he was just, by the end, just exhausted. 47 to the 48 minutes. That's amazing. This might be better than his game 3. I really kind of think that. 35 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, 5 steals. And that was the difference. I don't think, someone tell me how many steals he had in the last game. I don't think he had 5. He really was terrific. I'd almost say he was almost like unwilling to shoot it sometimes because he didn't want his percentage to go down. It almost looked like that, but it's also like the game was going slow for him. He was really making good decisions. 11 for 19 from the field. Remember, he hit 1 3, and that was a crazy 3, like barely jump off the ground. 35 points in a game in these days without really using the 3-point shot is pretty impressive. So again, that was as good, if not better than his game 3. Probably better because this was a knockout game and they needed it, and he came through. In the face of the Anthony Davis adjustment that was so good for the, again, it had its moments for the Lakers in Game 5. I do feel like that got in Game 4, but I feel like it got a little bit too much, hype. It didn't feel like it was that much hype. Let's see here. I want to see. Oh, you know what, JW? If you tell me what you coach, BB Coach JW33, maybe add the little thing so it's orange in the chat so I can see it. I'm not sure how you get the orange thing. Maybe somewhat Jigglypuff. Tell us how you get the orange B-ball breakdown that catches my eye so well. Because I'm curious. I'm curious if we have a lot of basketball coaches here with us. If you are, let me know. I want to find out what that breakdown is. Okay. So that was Leo Choi's question. What's the Heat? I think I got the key for them. Randall J05. We talked about that one. Let's see here. Okay, so I answered the BB Coach GW33 one. Ian Pomerantz. Thank you very much, Ian. First time I've seen anyone stand toe-to-toe with LeBron and win. Warriors and Spurs were always some of their parts. Gotta respect Jimmy here. I mean, listen, Jimmy's a tough MFer, right? He has that strength and the shoulders to do that. I thought one thing I didn't like about Jimmy's defense on LeBron for a lot of this was he was letting him go middle. And sometimes there are a philosophy you want to, maybe that's where the help is. But I think if you let LeBron into the middle, it's over for you. And he's either going to score it or kick out for an open shot. So I think that they'd be much better off. And I feel like, toward the end, they were better at that and forcing it toward the baseline. And then they could rotate help over that way. That was better. So, but man, yeah. Jimmy has really just impressed me to no end. Now, did he get to the first tier? Jeez Louise, he might have. He might be at the first tier now because he's done it now twice, and it's certainly in a game like tonight where it was a must-have, he did it. So he's playing himself, in my mind, into that first tier, and he's believing it. I think that's the thing that maybe he didn't always believe it. Andrew Zhu, thank you so much. Suspend Dwight. Yeah, listen, Dwight is out of control. And it's not like out of control where he's just flying around and running into people, whatever. He's got this image of what like playoff basketball is supposed to be, and he's trying to like live up to that. And as a result, he's going to hurt somebody. He could have really hurt Jimmy. That was probably a concussion that he gave him, and it probably should have put him in concussion protocol. Now, Jimmy didn't black out, he didn't hit his head or whatever, so they probably don't need to do it, and he certainly seemed okay after that. But, that's not okay. And Jeff Van Gundy had said he thought that could have been a flagrant 2, like if it was a regular season. And maybe I can kind of see that. It certainly was a blow to the head, a very big windup. So Dwight is just a problem. Now, that said, how did he play overall anyway? Dwight Howard got his 15 minutes. He pretty much gets exactly 15 minutes. 2 points, two free throws he made, and a couple of rebounds. So he's not even effective. So I don't know what they're going to do. I suppose they're going to run him out again, but I would probably cut those 15 to less, maybe to 10. Let's see here. Jaeger, probably Jaeger. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. And guys, thank you so much. You guys are so generous. The issue with Green is the Lakers do an amazing job of getting him open shots, and he still shoots average to below average, missing way off sometimes. Well, that is absolutely true. And we talked about that in the last game. Would you like me? I'll just do it again. The issue I often see with Danny Green's shot is that he doesn't straighten his arm on the release. And so when he shoots it like this, let me make sure you can see me here. When he shoots it like this and he goes, maybe even more. It's like this. He finishes like this. Whereas, you watch Steph and his arm, his elbow, and his wrist snap together in one shot. That's what I like to see when I'm coaching kids and high schoolers and developing. I want to see that elbow just snap and straighten all the way through. Danny finishes, almost like that. It's bizarre, and so as a result, it's hard to get that consistent. And so we see wild consistency with him all up and down throughout his career. And so, so I'm not surprised. And and a lot of times you can rate a shooter by how the misses go. And a lot of times, like Duncan Robinson, look at his misses. He missed, he went 8 for, Duncan Robinson went 7 for 13. So he missed 6 shots. I think at least 4 of those were like in and out. And I don't know how they didn't stay down. Like that's how you know it's a great shooter, by the misses. And Danny Green will slam him off the backboard and be way off. So he's a conundrum, and probably the guy who you'd want to upgrade, but it's not easy to find a guy who's like 6'4", 6'5" that can defend really well and knock down shots. But they're coming. I'm telling you, as we move into this, 3-point shooting, NBA, those 10-year-olds from 10 years ago and 5 years ago are going to be, coming into the NBA and be able to do that. Probably high. Thank you. Does Danny Green's plus 12 not redeem him? That's the highest in the Lakers. Not everyone's clutch. Yeah, the plus minus is an interesting thing. I like to, by the way, full disclosure, I will manipulate that thing to make a point to no end. Okay? There are times when the guy's got a great plus minus and he really didn't play well at all. He just happened to be alongside somebody else. And there are other times when he played amazing and he got like a -1, and like it just tells you it's noisy. So it's a noisy stat. What were Danny Green's numbers otherwise? Danny Green, 3 for 8, 8 points. I don't think he played that great offensively, but then again, he did his job defensively for the most part. Who was the guy who lost? I think it was KCP. Man, he got burned on the left corner 3 by Robinson. And you know what was funny about that possession? And they showed it, I think, later where he turns his head and then just let him get wide open. Like, that just can't happen ever in the finals game. But if you watch before that and go farther back, he lost him twice. So it was the same action that he lost him. And he's like, I better get back on him. They didn't hit him. And then he gets lost again. That is unconscionable. And you know that, Vogel is going to be, shaking his head when he sees that in the film session. Sam Bacon, thank you, Sam Bacon. What would you have done differently on that last play? Like, would you have drawn up if you were coach? Oh, and the Lakers in 6. Okay, the last play was, you mean like when they were inbounding after the free throw? Because I don't know what you're going to get out of that besides, or you're talking about the LeBron kick out. You had to know LeBron was going to attract at least a second defender. So I think as a coach, it's like, Danny Green open top of the key. That's a good shot. I would take it. I'm pretty sure that's the play you're talking about. Now I'm forgetting that how did Butler get his free throws? Oh crap. I'm blanking on that now. And I quit out of my thing. I can always go back, but somebody remind me how Butler got his free throws. If I can scroll down here and see. I don't know. Anyhow, so I think that's your answer, I hope. Kentaro Skinner, thank you very much. What was the most crucial mistake down the stretch for the Lakers? I think it was Caruso and KCP getting confused in the switch. Yeah, like running into each other. That was huge. Let me check my notes to see if I wrote anything else down. Yeah, I wrote that down as the big one. Now, by the way, the air ball, which is different. That's AD on getting the offensive rebound. That was if the Heat had lost this game, it almost would have been like that Game 6 in 2013 when the Spurs lost Game 6 because of LeBron misses the 3, but then Ray Allen gets the 3. Because They played amazing defense. The Heat, they shut down LeBron. They get a deflection. They could barely get the ball off. It's a terrible miss. It's an air ball. And the only way that they get that rebound and put back is if it's an air ball. And that goes right to AD and he puts it in. So, AD fouled. Oh, yeah. AD fouled him on the drive. Yeah, it was a great call. The only question then was how did Butler get that drive to the basket? I'm going to go back and remind it in my head. I'll see it in a second. But thank you. That was good, Monty Legend. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yeah, so last play drawn up, I think, crucial mistake down the stretch for the Lakers. Yeah, it really is amazing how Robinson just doesn't need any room at all. That was a lot of room for him, but he doesn't really need it and can just knock it down. He played great. Give him the game ball. He took that charge. That was probably what the Lakers needed to be really worried about. Remember, when they came in game one, the Heat had almost no finals experience except for Iguodala. And so... Hero actually was good, but then he was bad. He was sort of up and down, and then Robinson looked, completely lost and sort of, intimidated. But the Lakers needed to be worried that as the games went by, these guys would get more and more comfortable. So I got to tell you, Duncan Robinson had 10 three-point attempts and hit 3 of them in game, I want to say 3, which was great because they were really limiting him the first couple of games. And then in this game, he shot 13 threes. You know what I mean? That's a lot of threes to be able to get. He's going to make, if he's going to get them off, he's going to make his 5, 6, 7 of those. And that's a really big advantage for them when he's coming off like that. Kendrick Nunn, we haven't even mentioned, but we'll get to him. I'm sure someone's going to ask the question. But great call, Quintaro, on that Caruso case. That's too bad. It kind of happens. The offense is designed to try and make that happen, but man, it can't happen. But that's what Duncan Robinson does. A shooter like that is just is unbelievable. And then wait, what did Hero end up doing? He had 12 points, 4 for 11. He's sort of still in that larva mode. But I feel like Robinson's starting to come out of that the pupa. Is that what it is? And then becoming a butterfly. I don't know. There goes that metaphor. Mr. Penguins Canada, thank you. I love your channel, Coach. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We're coming to the end of the season, so it's always a little bit melancholy, right? Whereas, things are getting over. But there's so much to do once the season's over with free agency. There's no summer league, I guess, but we'll have a lot of things to cover, old games. So don't go anywhere when the season's over. I'll be there. Although I will go on a quick road trip starting next week to Chicago to see my pops, and then I'll be back. So I'll have a little bit of a break for like a week. The Trib 1. Danny Green missed the shot, but don't forget Morris short-circuiting. Also took 4 straight buckets from Jimmy late as well. Zone won't work for the Heat. Okay, Danny Green missed the shot, but don't forget Morris short-circuiting. Yeah, wait, I'm trying to now think of what Morris did. Morris threw away that lob to AD, and he had somewhat risky, but I don't know, skip to LeBron, and LeBron should have been going to him, by the way, to get it back. So that was it's on Morris, and he took 4 straight buckets from Jimmy late as well. AD did or Morris did? I think they got the switch to get Morris on him, and he scored. And listen, give all the credit to Jimmy, man. Jimmy was hitting those shots. I think you got to try the zone. I think you got to try it perhaps when they go when AD is in there without LeBron, and there's like 2 moments in that. It actually happens at the end of the first. And then at some point, I think in the third, they should try it. That's when they should try it. And they haven't done it. That's weird. It's just Aiden. Thank you, my man. I really appreciate it. Really, really. Barry Haynes. Wow. So generous. Thanks, Laker fans hoping Pope, Green, and Morris will shoot 4 threes a match. One of them is guaranteed to cook up a disaster in a game. It was Morris's turn today. Well, let's go look at Morris's line here. Okay, first off the bench. 23 minutes, 0 for 2. It's weird. He only got the 2 shots, 2 threes. So he kind of disappeared. I kind of feel bad for Morris because he has to sort of live off of whatever the scraps he gets from the offense, even though he's going to want to shoot it whenever you get it to him. But yeah, he looked a little bit off today. And Kuzma was not nearly as affected either. It got physical, I felt like, and he's not great with that. And the Heat really, the Heat can match the physicality of the Lakers much of the time. Sometimes it overwhelms them as well. And like there was a moment in the third quarter where the Lakers really turned up the heat on defense. The Heat were turning the ball over, and that's when it looked like, oh, okay, we're going to be celebrating here with the trophy tonight. But I got to tell you, it's like time and again, the Miami Heat just don't fold. And it's starts with Pat Riley. It starts with Eric Spoelstra. It starts with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Jay Crowder. All these guys are just so tough. They don't give up. They don't yell at each other. They don't get mad at each other. I don't think I saw one cursed glance at anybody. It's really exciting to see that method of playing together, because there are a lot of players out there that are convinced that, the harder you are, though, the more you ensure that like they're not going to make that mistake again and whatever. But it's like, no, this is a knockout game. You got to have everybody playing as well as they can. We know what the chemistry of the brain, how that works in the face of anger and disgust, especially from people that you respect, and teammates and coaches. And so why would you ever play around with that? Okay, and we saw this, like JJ Redick did this in a similar game last year in the playoffs. It was a knockout game that they were going to get knocked out. I think they did, and he was just like screaming all over TJ McConnell in Philly. And it was like the one thing he needs TJ McConnell to do is to play well, to be in a positive frame of mind so he can continue to play like he can. And instead, he like wouldn't let it go. It was going on for like, 10 minutes of him just berating the kid. That we know scientifically how that affects the brain for almost everybody. So why would you ever mess around with that? Coaches too. Coaches are really bad about that. So it's really great to see the Miami Heat are business, and they accept, issues, mistakes, whatever, and they move on, they correct it, and they go on, and they keep the right frame of mind. It's really great to see. Raul DM, thank you, my goodness, thank you so much. Put UD in. I don't think he's ready for that. Heat need bigger bodies out there. No, well then, if you want bigger bodies, again, they didn't play Myers Leonard at all. And it's too bad. Myers Leonard deserves, a few minutes in the first and a few minutes in the third. He really does. He's played well enough in the time he's gotten that they could use him. And it's a little bit frustrating. Now, Olynyk didn't play at all either. Like, that's shocking to me as well. Because he also hurt the Heat. But this is the thing. It's a knockout game. You got to be very careful. Now, the question is, will they do it again? Obviously, I bet you, right, if they get an early lead earlier, then yes, they'll bring in Olynyk without question. They might even throw Solomon Hill to give Butler like a few minutes. They just couldn't get enough of that separation early enough. And then I bet you, the 11-point lead, they didn't sub out anyway either. So that's how quickly those leads can evaporate. And if you risk putting out guys farther than 7th or 8th or 9th, then that happens. So it's tough. I would like to see them do that. We'll have to find out what happens in Game 6. It's going to be awesome. Bernardo Vivas. Why not do to LeBron what the Lakers did to Harden? Just flat out double him in the perimeter and make him give it up. I agree. Also, can you think of a better finals by non-top 10 player coming to the series at least? Okay, so let's answer the first one. So Bernardo, great point. And I don't know if I think I yelled it out loud watching, but maybe I tweeted it too. But absolutely, they need to figure out ways to double. Now, they're going to run screen and roll because obviously LeBron's going to want to force Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson to guard him. So there's an opportunity for them to just blast him at least a couple times, see what happens. Because, if it's KCP doing the short roll, if it's Danny Green, then let him short roll. He did a bad job on that one possession. Make him prove it. Make him hit a floater. Make him take a couple dribbles and then have to kick it out to the corner without getting it deflected. Now, what they would probably end up doing, though, is setting a screen like with Rondo. Now, Rondo was not nearly the effect in this game that he normally would. 18 minutes, 1 for 7. 0 for 3. Now, I'm trying to think. I think he had a layup. So I think all the other 6 shots were threes, and the other 3, I think, were also perimeter. I don't think he was getting into the lane. So he was not nearly as helpful as he's been in the past. None of the guys off the bench were. And that was probably the big difference here because, Kendrick Nunn comes in and gets his 14 points. And that was key for them. Okay, wow. I mean, I'm not even sure I'm going to catch up here. Let's get to this. Okay, so Jay Delgado, 216. Thank you. A lot of dumb 4-point plays help the Heat a lot too. Yeah, and I know the one on Duncan Robinson, there's contact there. It's all part of the landing space issue. So I could see why that was a call. And it's just a huge bucket on his part just to nail that shot. So the Lakers need to clean that up too. I mean, it happened I think twice, but they need to clean that up. They can't keep having that. Spencer 8OV, thank you. Not too worried as Laker fans. Respect to Jimmy. Yeah, okay, I could see that. I would be a little worried. I would be a little bit worried. The Lakers didn't play particularly well, so that's one thing. They probably will play better overall. But then again, LeBron played awesome, right? LeBron was 15 for 21, 6 for 9 from 3, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, LeBron had as good a game as Jimmy, but they lost, so he gets buried. He played terrific. Anthony Davis had 28 points and 12 rebounds, but those are the quietest 28 points and 12 rebounds I've seen. And that happens to him in his, in New Orleans. That would happen to him all the time. They wouldn't win, or they'd be whatever, and then he'd end up having like 28 points. It's like, what? It didn't seem like that. So they need obviously more production. KCP was great. KCP gave them what they needed to win the game. It was just that nobody else besides LeBron really gave it to him. I think AD was quiet. Now AD finally got a low post foul, and then I think he got a post up maybe in another or two different fouls. But they're not going to him down low enough. It's bizarre, and it's either him drifting to the perimeter, or they're not looking for him and getting it down there. But that's a LeBron thing. He needs to make sure that Anthony Davis gets down there and they feed him, and he gets his more post ups than he's been getting. It's really fascinating how that keeps happening. Stephen N, thank you. Thoughts on, or Stefan, I'm assuming it's Stephen, but it could be Stefan. Thoughts on Kuz's 3-point foul? Literally looked like he meant to foul him. Kuz's 3-point foul, oh gosh, who did he foul now? I got to picture that in my mind. That wasn't Duncan, was it Duncan? Oh yeah, it was Duncan Robinson. He was jumping up and down. So now I can see it. Obviously he didn't mean to foul him, and he certainly was contorting to get around or whatever. I think he was a little bit lucky he didn't get a technical foul because he was carrying on afterwards. But yeah, it was not a good play. That 4-point play, I didn't write it down, what that was and what the score was. So I want to remember how crucial it was. And they're all crucial. I don't think it didn't look like to me like he was trying to foul him, obviously, and he wasn't. But it was close. But you got to call that kind of contact. Guo Yang, thank you. Hey, coach, do you think AD's injury is serious? I don't think so. It didn't look like anything when it happened, and even though he looked like he was shot. Although I want to watch again the last stretch. They had said on the commentary that he wasn't putting a lot of pressure on there, but I don't know. I saw him score a couple of times and do some moves, so I don't think it's that serious. I'm sure they'll just do some treatment. He'll be fine. The Trib one, oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. We kill Giannis for not guarding Butler, but we see Bron and AD not guarding him while he's averaging 30. Do they get downrated defensively too? Well, wait. We see AD guarding him the whole time. So, and Bron would picking him up a little bit too. So, I don't know. I mean, unless you're talking about how AD was on him and they would force a switch because of a pick and roll, that's not really AD's fault. So no, they don't get downrated for that, but they certainly didn't do great anyway because Jimmy had his incredible game again. When I break it down, we'll have to look at like against which defenders because that'll be key. Listen, Jimmy tried to go back to the basket against AD and he just blocked it with like nothing. And so, and that's not, excuse me, Butler knows that. And that's why he can't quite do that. But so he did his damage in the mid-range tonight. Dave Wu, thank you. Rate your favorite finals in the past decade, 1 through 3, please. My favorite finals. Wow. Well, I suppose 2014 is up there. That was a really good finals. I was there covering it. That was really exciting. So I got to ask like questions to Pop on TV. Like that was amazing. So that'll be memorable. Let's see here. I think memorable and like favorite as far as like the coaching is probably, I hate to have them all be LeBron losses, but if it's the last 10 years, then a lot of them are LeBron losses because he's in every finals. So I like the 2010 when the Mavericks won, 2011 when the Mavericks won. Yeah, 2011. So that was just fascinating to watch as well, just from the coaching standpoint. Should we give LeBron one? All right, how about coming back 3-1-3? We'll give him that one because that was pretty impressive and amazing. But let's give shouts to Kyrie for also being incredible and amazing down the stretch the last 3 games. Where are we here? Brian Holiday, thank you so much. Brian, Lakers need more from Kuzma, Green, and Morris. Absolutely. They only need more from one of those guys, right? You get a little bit more from one of those guys and the Lakers win. So it's not like they need this monster Titanic thing. It's very close. Both these teams, like I said, are very, very close in the way they match up. So, that first game aside, this could go 7. And, I might have mentioned this before, but, it goes to game 7. Anything can happen then. Now you got a chess match. And I shudder to think what might happen if the Lakers do lose, a 3-1 lead. Can you imagine what would happen to LeBron and his legacy in this whole thing? It's not going to happen. It can't happen. They're not going to lose 3-1 lead. But I don't. That thought they have to do everything they can in their power to keep that thought out of their minds. Barun, why did Olynyk not play today? It's a great question, Barun, because he certainly deserved some minutes. But again, it's a knockout game. Spoelstra is going to make sure he makes no mistakes on the rotations. And, there are times when Olynyk gets exposed defensively. So they're really worried about that, obviously. They need to keep the game close. And they just never got enough separation. They never felt comfortable enough. And that was probably the key. I'm sure they were looking for ways to get him in there for a few minutes. And it just never presented itself with the way the game went in the first half. And then certainly in the second half as it got tighter. There just was not an opening for that. They just couldn't risk it. BB Coach JW33. Oh, and they didn't tell me here what your coach. Was the effectiveness of Nunn tonight a sign of things to come for the Heat post-Dragic? He was massive tonight off the bench. Okay, so let's talk about Nunn. I figured someone was going to talk about him. Gosh, he's terrific, and he fits the Heat so well. I think he fits the Heat better than Dragic. I think Dragic is a throwback to another era and another Heat era. And so I think that they're going to get a lot more out of the guys like Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn going forward. Did we already talk about what his contract deal is? Let's look it up real quick. So Dragic contract. The current contract. Oh, look at that. Looks like he's a free agent. Let me go back to that. I could just scroll. So I think he's a free agent. No, I don't see anything about an option. So so they're going to let him go. I think Dragic is going to sign somewhere else. I don't think the Heat are going to, or they're going to say, listen, come back, we'll give you a lot less money, but whatever. But I don't think Dragic would do that. So I bet you they're going to let Dragic walk and then put Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn in those minutes, and they'll be better off down the stretch or going forward. I think for sure. And he was massive coming off those screens. He's got really high, his airspace is a lot of large airspace, and what I mean by that is he shoots the ball far away from his body, which limits power, okay? And so it's harder to kind of shoot from distance from there. So I don't know. I'm going to check what he shot. I don't think he's ever going to be that way, shooting that way, unless they're like all wide open. I think it's tough for him to be consistent with that. Kendrick Nunn shot this year, first year, 35%. So you know what? He's a little bit below average, and I just don't know if he's ever going to get closer to 40, which would be the goal with that much airspace the way he shoots it. But he can certainly work on some rhythm stuff and get better from there too. And then the rhythm stuff will then increase the power and the ability to shoot from distance. Delays Apercu, thank you. How great is Pat Riley? I mean, listen, Pat Riley is great. He's always been great. I didn't like him so much in the 90s when he was creating the Knicks teams that were just like, we're not going to have more skill than you. We are going to simply beat you up. And that was always frustrating as a coach. It's like, listen, the game should be about skill. And it shouldn't be allowed that, okay, I'm not going to get skilled players, so I'm just going to have to beat them up. That was always a frustrating thing for me in those 90s. But he's completely adjusted now, and certainly the way they're playing and the way they run their system here is perfect. It's beautiful. I did make a comment on Twitter about how basically what the Heat run on offense is like from the 20s, the original Celtics. It's a lot of it. You pass and you foul your pass back for the handoff. That was back before guys could dribble very well, so they had to advance it with the pass, and then they could run and get the handoff quick and really quick shovel passes. That's all 20s, 30s, Dutch Dennert, Nat Holman, original Celtic stuff. And it's beautiful to see that that's how perfect this game is. The guys who developed an attack from the beginning of the game, it's still appropriate now. It still works now. And you can combine that with all of the amazing skill we've developed, and now you've got, just devastating offense across the board, and everyone's doing it. Let's see here. Varun Rispud, thank you so much again. During LeBron's career, the game had a paradigm shift to 3-ball. Did any other elite superstar player had to adjust to such a change in their career? Dwight? Also had the opposite, or had a bad experience with that. Other guys became like Kenneth Faried just becomes obsolete overnight, right? Even though like Montrezl Harrell, was able to find a home at least, before the the last whatchamacallit. Wait, Nikola Milosevic thinks that Dragic is coming back on a 1-year deal. I would not do that. I think that'd be a waste of money. Okay, but going back to your question, Fareed became obsolete even though Trez, didn't. Who else? And that's a big one. A lot of times we think about guys who are ahead of their time, right? And so it's like they ended up toiling and they could have just come later and they would have been even better. But elite superstar player. Oh, and those are not elite superstar players. Kobe tried to, although it was way at the end of his career, but he tried to in the last couple of years to do that. But let's see, any other elite? No, like Shaq would have been a good example if he'd been playing across these boards. But Dwight is probably that guy, and he was an elite superstar player for a while. So that's a great question though, Varun. Really good. Raul DM. They're too comfortable with each other. They need to try out of box schemes to see what happens, like full court press, trappings, etc. Raul, great question. Thank you for that. I'm always about that. I mean, you get a little conservative as you get in these games where you miss a shot and you lose, but that's the time to really I think loosen it up a little bit, try some things, and see if it works. I love the full court press. They already run it. They know how to do that, and to make them take 7 seconds off in the backcourt. And then it makes it a lot harder when they get the ball in. So they really should do a little bit more of that. And maybe now that they have a little breathing room, they don't, they might loosen up a little bit in game 6, and we'll see, because that might lead to a bigger lead earlier, and then they could get those other guys in and then kind of build on that. Kintaro Skinner, oh my goodness, thank you again. Jimmy Butler is great, but I think he's a benefactor of these shooters. I think you could attribute half of his assists to Robinson when he's going. Now, that's a great question. I went through some of his assists, and for sure, he just kind of makes an easy pass, and the guy hits a 25-footer. So, yes, but an assist is an assist. You're right. You got to make the pass on target, on time. That's something. Sometimes, though, he'll throw it to Tyler Hero, who takes 2 or 3 dribbles and then gets to the basket and scores. That shouldn't be an assist, but they give it to him. But by the way, he really benefits from the shooters giving him space. So now he can kind of get into cracks and get into the paint. There was a moment there, for most of the game where the Heat had no trouble getting to the paint. Not necessarily shooting it there, but they were getting into the paint every time, then kicking out or wrapping around passes for dunks and layups. It's a real problem the Sixers are going to have to fix because, the Lakers cannot let them in the paint that easily. That was a real problem, but also a testament to the offense. This old school offense that, they used to play for 100 years ago still works. It's a pleasure to see. Nation JJ, any chance AD is not involved so LBJ wins MVP? Do you think that LBJ is freezing him out so he can get the numbers? There was a moment when I saw they had a shot of LeBron's expression, and I'm like trying to picture what it is now, but I remember thinking that was what I was thinking he was thinking. He's like, man, this is my MVP and no one else is going to get it. I'm going to make sure of that, which is not necessarily bad. If you're a home run hitter, you swing for the fences. I don't know. But again, when it comes down to it and LeBron is creating that last shot, what does he do? He makes the right play and he gives it up to Danny Green. So, I think he's always in that moment willing to make that right play. So I can't tell him, I couldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, he's trying to freeze AD out so he gets more stats and wins the finals MVP. You do that and you lose. And then here we are. Llewellyn Lloyd, thank you. The Heat take too long to get into their offense. Not always, but yes. And also because they want to get 3, 4, 5 passes anyway, that you're already automatically going to get down to 10, 8, 9, 5 seconds left in the shot clock. So, it's a trade-off because, the more passes you make, the more chance you have of a turnover, but the higher the percentage gets in the field goal as well. So it's a nice trade-off. And, they get into trouble with that sometimes. And they had that moment. They didn't have too many turnovers tonight, I don't think. Let's see. They had 13, which is not bad, but they had a bunch right in one stretch, which let the Lakers close that 11-point gap. So if they can spread them out a little bit more, they could have the 12-13, but as long as they're not in amongst a run, I have a feeling they could actually maintain their leads that they would have. Latrib one, really. So thank you. If the Heat get a big impact player, they can get right back here next year. Let Dragic go. Trade for Victor Oladipo, like the video guys. 6,000 people here. Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of people here. It's really crazy. The most we've had since the first one I did, which is 10,000 last month. And again, thank you all. And if you want to get me and answer questions, the super chat's the way to go because it gets filled up. And again, thank you so much. It really, really helps the business right now, which has been struggling because of the auto claiming that's going on during the playoffs. So, which is another reason why I'm thinking like, this membership thing that I want to do could be, beneficial for all of us, right? I can do, and I'm really thinking about it. Like what I would end up doing was giving you bonus content for each, breakdown I do. So if there's a breakdown on YouTube that's, the normal 8 minutes, I might just have one that's 9 minutes for you guys. But then I'll also do shows like this several times a month, and anything else I could think of that you guys can do. Maybe on-court demos and stuff like that I could share with you. And I think that would be, a lot of great extra content. And I think, people would probably be willing to help me build that business that side. Because again, with the way these get claimed so quickly now, the revenue is, not easy to come by. With the way they're claiming it. And that's, the cost of doing business, but it really makes it hard for me to continue to do these when they do it so quickly like that. So thank you again for all the super chats and everybody here. It's really a pleasure. Labato. But by the way, like you said, trade, let Dragic go without question. They don't even need Oladipo. If they sign him, great. They'll now have a big chunk of change to spend on somebody, so they can really upgrade. That's an interesting thing. So if it's Oladipo, that would be a nice fit. I think he'd fit really well on this team for sure. Labato. AD mishandles double teams in the post. He's bad at passing off the double. I feel that's why they don't go to him. Nothing good comes out. Yes, he's not bad. Actually, he's not bad. He's gotten better, and he did display some nice passing out of the post in double teams earlier in the series. He did it a little bit, but it's definitely not his strongest suit. And so that's a good question. They don't want to go down to him, but I don't know. I mean, when you watch him score over double teams or attack quickly before the double team gets there to shoot over everybody, it's like, why wouldn't you get that more? They need to at least try. They need to at least try and get into him. I just don't. I can't. The risk is a lot. The reward is a lot greater than the risk for sure with AD in the post and that left block. The Trib one, oh my goodness. Thank you, my goodness. Thank you so much. The Trib one. Elimination game, Bron in full effect, always shows up. No, listen, Bron in elimination games has a crazy record. It's like, what was it, 17-2 or something like that, right? I think it was last game we saw. So I mean, the team doesn't ultimately get affected that much. So we'll see what happens in game 6. Stephen N, thank you so much. If Lakers win, they got to take away Danny Red's ring away because the brick house he was building wasn't good enough. Nah, come on now. He's doing a lot of other things, but yes, he's certainly not hitting the shots he normally does or you expect him to, and that makes it pretty tough. Allie Hunt, thank you so much, Allie. Wow, very generous of you. Do you think that LeBron will ever stop complaining to the refs? No, but for real, how possible do you think it is for the Heat to pull off the upset? How possible is it? It's a really good question. Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem possible that they're going to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Could they win Game 5 tonight? Yes, that was possible. Could they win Game 6? Maybe. I would say it's probably 50-50. But, can they win Game 7? I don't know. I would say that game would have to be well in the favor of the Lakers. It would have to be, right? I can't even fathom that. So I would say it's 50-50 Game 6. And then for them winning Game 7 would have to be 70-30 against. How's that? Does that make sense? But good question. Don't worry about it. All right, thank you. Thoughts on LeBron's body language towards KCP, Green, and Kuzma throughout the series when they mess up? Seems negative or toxic. Yes, it's not. I don't think it's completely egregious, but yes, especially because you are the best player on the court of your generation, of the world, whatever you are. These guys are, not that and need the encouragement. Now, you could argue that like the Kobe's and the Michaels, were also extremely hard. I think Michael, by the third three-peat, the second three-peat, I think he changed his demeanor a lot. I mean, listen, they were so good that it was, there wasn't a lot to yell about. These guys really fit their roles. But I think he recognized that earlier in his career, he thought he was making them better by being so hard on them, and they would get hardened. And I think he later on realized that it's not always the best way to do it. I think Phil, eventually was able to explain that to him. So, LeBron isn't terrible. I wouldn't put him on a terrible scale of other players, but we like we said earlier in this broadcast, we understand how the brain functions chemically in the face of disgust and anger and all those things. It kind of won't allow you to play at your optimal abilities. So why screw around with that? You can't, but it's not been bad. Although, every time he messes up on defense and gets scored and then looks around for somebody else to yell at, that's always bothered me about him for years. NBA Academy. Where do we go? Okay. Bam needs to play better for the Heat to win. Yeah, okay, let's look at his line real quick. So Bam ultimately was 5 for 12, 3 for 4 from the line, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, a block, 13 points, 3 turnovers. Yeah, he needs to play a little bit better. And he still looks a little bit, he missed a couple of those games, and he still looks a little bit, or he missed 1, or he missed 2. Or it's 1.5. Either way, he still looks a little bit, off balance, off kilter, but he does help them without question, and so he's doing it. But yes, I would agree for them to kind of continue this, he needs to play better. So good call. Colin Anthony, thank you, friend of the breakdown. Is it just me or does AD fall down a lot? Not even flopping, but just from contact and collisions. Seems like it causes some of the smaller injuries. He certainly spends a lot of time on the floor. He does. Now, so I don't think it's flopping. I think there's just some guys do that. They a little bit of contact and they kind of just go down, or they're so worried about the ankle and stuff like that, they just kind of fall versus putting all their weight on those ankles and then maybe rolling them, which is not a bad way to get around that, because if you had wheel issues, you want to try and avoid that. That is one way to do it. So, but you're talking about wrist and arm and all sorts of other stuff as you're falling down too that you can injure. So absolutely, he does. He does fall down a lot, and yeah, I mean, listen, that's wear and tear that could cause anybody to get issues anywhere and off balance. So yeah, Jerry Cruz, thank you. What do you make of LeBron's body? Wait, that's weird. Did I already read these? So I already talked about the body language, unless it already came. Oh, that's the same question that somebody else just asked. It's so weird. And can you please answer this donation? It's $5, but come on. Listen, $5 is a lot. I mean, thank you so much. Jeez. But I just answered that, so that's interesting. But Jerry, I hope I can give you any more insight. What are we talking about? LeBron, it's not bad, and LeBron seems to let it go pretty quickly. So that's the other part of that, which is important. So I think that's why. It's not. It doesn't get into like the red line for me, because he kind of makes the point. He's angry, whatever, but he seems to get right back to the next play, and it's fine. And that is important too. So that sort of gives him that pass on that one. Stephen C, thank you so much. My goodness, I don't know how much money that is in American dollars, but it seems like a ton. So thank you. Hey coach, which NBA player do you think will be a perfect fit for the current Heat roster? So I think Oladipo would be great. That will elevate their chances of winning a chip in the next few years. So Oladipo is great. I think they probably could use. I mean, like Olynyk is helpful. Myers Leonard is helpful at times. They probably could use maybe a guy in that position that's better than that. And I don't know who that is. Who's available now in that genre? Who's a free agent? I haven't even looked at the free agencies for this offseason. Someone might yell it out to me in the comments. I'll scroll down here. But who is that center who could shoot a little bit? Who's a free agent? Anybody know? Gallinari. Gallinari would definitely fit in this with the Heat for sure. Yeah, he would be really good. I think he really liked all the high post action and cutting, and he can create a little bit too. So he can pass a little bit too. He would be good. Gallinari is good. Brook Lopez, is he free? Davis Bertans would be great on anybody's team, so it doesn't matter. Of course Giannis. But Bertans would be great anywhere, and certainly there. Ibaka, I don't know. Ibaka doesn't move off the ball like that. I think he might not work as well in a high movement, cerebral offense like that. I don't think that's Ibaka's thing. Okay, so Raul DM. When is the Patreon coming out? I've been waiting for it. Oh, well, okay, that's the big question as we start to wrap this up. The membership on YouTube, Patreon, whatever you call it. I'm thinking about doing it like maybe when the season ends, but then it kind of seems like maybe I should do it when January comes up and we have a new season. But I don't know. So I'll do some polls on the community tab, and I'll take your guys' temperature, and I'll see when you want me to start it and what you want me to do, and if you guys really want me to do it at all, and we can try it out and see. Listen, there's no harm in starting it out and like it's kind of slow and no one's there, but then like when the season starts, it just picks up. Baines on the Heat. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably end up taking Olynyk over Baines, or like those. They're the same to me. They're not the same, but I don't know as far as like how that fits. Maybe. Adar Shmital, thank you. Imagine wasting 40 points from LeBron and 88% true shooting. As good as Butler has been, LeBron's scoring has made him the best player of the series. I can agree with that. But LeBron has been absolutely great through the whole, for without question. And certainly, if they win, he gets the Finals MVP hands down. I mean, the only clunker LeBron turned in was the first half of last game. T. Gene, thank you. Yeah, Baines. Okay, so Baines can shoot it. He's smart. He can pass a little bit. He can move a little bit in that respect. You know, that Baines could be a good call. If they kind of strike out on Oladipo or whatever, and they have some extra money, Baines could be that guy. So yeah, I can see that. Would Giannis fit on either Miami or Toronto? So, I mean, the problem with Giannis, he can't shoot, and so that's what Miami and Toronto do, and they want to be able to space. And if you already have Butler, who doesn't really shoot, and, you know, you need more spacing. So I don't know how he works there. But then again, listen, you're talking about the MVP of the league, so he fits in. He's going to work wherever he goes. But I don't know if Miami and Toronto are the best fits for him, no. You know what I mean? I think that's tough. The Big Baz, thank you. Anyone saying LeBron is from the closer because he passed instead of taking the shot clearly didn't watch the play. Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, it's the bottom line is he makes the right play, and that's all that matters. Would I like to see that pass a little bit more accurate? Yeah, okay, whatever. But he had 3 guys on him, and he give him a break. Jeremy Grant, would be another good call. We talked about that before. Chris Wood also is. I got to see Chris Wood prove it a little bit more, but yeah, he was really good in Detroit this past year. So those are all great calls. So, you know, what's interesting is that the Heat are sitting really pretty right now because they can take Dragic's money off the books and then, you know, sign a top tier free agent with that and then reload to get ready to go back for the finals. The only team that they have to worry about probably would be obviously the Nets and then, you know, the Celtics. And the Celtics, I don't know. They don't have any room to get better, I don't think. Although whenever anybody says that, then the team does. But I think the Celtics need to make a big move as well. The Sixers are going to make a big move, apparently personnel-wise. So I don't think it. You know, does that mean just Horford? Maybe, but it could mean even other things. So we'll see. The Eastern Conference though is getting better. They're getting better, and you know the Heat should feel pretty good about Game 6. You know, I'm giving them 50-50, and that's 50-50 is a good opportunity for them because again, these teams are really well matched. Let's see here. Spacious Grace. Thank you very much for the super chat. Wow. Barun Reese, but thank you. My goodness. What do you think of Lawrence Frank of Clippers winning the NBA? Okay, great question. I think Sam Presti did a better job with OKC than him. The bigger story out of that was that Rob Pelinka was 7th in that voting, which seems kind of silly, right? I mean, just but here's the thing that's interesting is the retaining of Rondo is a really great decision, but that happens way after they vote because Rondo didn't play until, you know, the playoffs. So now we're realizing that, oh my God, that was great to bring him back. KCP, all these things that are working out for them now, you know, wasn't necessarily as clear in the regular season. So that probably explains to some degree why Rob Pelinka fell that short, but, and I guess the question is, no, they signed AD, right? No, they traded for AD. So they traded for AD, which means it wasn't part of this season. I don't even remember now. This has been the season. What is time? So anyway, but the question but Lawrence Frank certainly deserved it. He put together a super team that was supposed to compete. They probably voted before the Clippers lost the series. So, you know, I think that's a good call. Sam Presti did a really good job too. Did he do better? You know, it's half of one, 6,000 the other, whatever. Presti was great. Those are all, and Presti is consistently great year over year. So he certainly deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing. Raul DM, All-Star game, but the coaches are playing instead. I don't think you want to see some of these coaches. I don't think can play. So I don't think you want to see that. And they probably all get into fights, right? Hey, Coach, how do you feel about the consistent doubling of LeBron with Duncan and Jimmy? Yeah, they need to do that. I mean, we saw it a little bit, right? But not a lot. But I would think that, and they probably would save that for the fourth quarter, which they did tonight a little bit. I got to go back and now watch and see how many times they did it. But they need to do it a little bit more. And if it's not Duncan, then it's Hero. They need to figure out ways of getting that double team and getting it out of his hands, and at least trying that because it wasn't working the other way, letting LeBron score. Or control the possession. The Trib one. I think the Lakers or Heat's exec was better. Neither of their teams were in the playoffs last year. AD was traded for in the offseason. Okay, so they concluded. Yeah, AD was in part of this thing. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, yes, the Heat put together a team. Yes. Now a lot of it has to do with like development. Duncan Robinson. How did he get to the Heat this year? Do we know? Let me just look that up. I forgot how they signed him as if he wasn't drafted, right? Let me look here. If I scroll on the bottom. Yeah, he signed a 2-way with the Heat. So was he? this is not his first year. So it wasn't his first year with Miami, so they wouldn't get credit for Duncan Robinson this year. But Tyler Hero pick was huge. Signing Jimmy was huge. Yeah, so without question, Pat Riley. I don't know where he finished, but he certainly should be up there too. So this is the great story. What they did. Let's see here. Well, listen, guys, we passed the hour mark, which is when we usually start to say goodbye to all of our friends. But is there anything quickly in this in the regular chat I can grab onto? I mean, by the way, I love it that there's a whole other discussion going on in this chat back and forth. This is what B-Ball Breakdown is about, right? It's not a channel, it's a conversation. So this is amazing to see you guys even do that and get a lot out of that. Let's see, Juan Sanchez, hey coach, would you play a drop coverage on Jimmy's pick and roll and just live with the jump shots? That's a tough one because he's really good at those 15, 18, 20 footers. So, it depends on who it is because, if it's AD dropping, I don't think he has to drop that far because you already know he's not going to take him to the basket anyway. So he could cheat a little bit higher and then try and contest those jumpers. But if it's somebody else like the Kuzmas and they drop, that's tougher because he's going to attack Kuzma. So you might be better off, not dropping nearly as far and being up farther on that, or they switch it. And then maybe Kuzma has a chance because otherwise he doesn't. Or KCP, he just backs him down. So that is an interesting thing where they might have to double Jimmy a little bit more. And then I don't think they did that at all, right? They would double Jimmy a lot of times, like he gets KCP and he goes to the post. But they should try doubling him on the pick and rolls as well, and just make the guy short roll and see what happens from there. So listen, awesome stuff. It's getting late out there, guys. If you're on the East Coast, man, it's late. It's Friday night though. But hey, again, amazing to have so many people in this chat and so many people doing super chats. Thank you so much. It really, really helps. And so many of you guys are just like multiple super chatters. It's so generous of you. I can't even express my gratitude for that. So thank you so much. And I'll be right back at it. I guess I'll be doing a video tomorrow morning. And then pushing back my road trip to Chicago based on whenever that happens with these games. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for everything. This was amazing. And I'll catch you tomorrow on YouTube with a regular video. And then guess what? We'll be back here, for a huge post-game show. I guarantee it on Sunday. So you don't want to miss that. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? And thank you, Gigolo Puff. I'm sorry I didn't give you a big shout out at the end. I apologize. But thank you. Awesome stuff. Again, that you're always there for me to always help clean up that chat. It's an invaluable service. Thank you so much. Again, I'll see you guys on Sunday.